Hi guys, welcome to the tutorials 10 minutes for Six Sigma. I have prepared here some tutorials about Six Sigma. This tutorial number 1 gives you a brief introduction into Six Sigma. The following tutorials are showing use cases out of the Beiersdorf fill and pack world where you can see which tool could be helpful for what. I wish you an interesting time. Who I am. My name is Jens Donat. I am working at Beiersdorf in the global fill and pack engineering. And close you can see my contact data. You can contact me every time if you have later on a question, a comment or whatever. Let me know, would enjoy me. So, what I just said, we have now the introduction here in part 1 into Six Sigma, and the next parts 2, 3, 4 and so about concrete use cases where and how could Six Sigma help us. So let's start now with the general introduction into Six Sigma. Six Sigma is a management toolbox system to improve processes. The core elements are define, measure, analyze, improve, and control processes with statistical instruments. This is also called DMAIC or DMAIC cycle. And the DMAIC cycle is the core of Six Sigma. And the content of the toolbox system is based on soft skill tools and hard skill tools, but this we will deepen later on. We see here again our DMAIC cycle: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control in combination with a selection out of the toolbox system. So for example, can we see here that to the define phase belongs, for example, the project kata or the translation from the voice of customer into our specification language. In the measure phase, we see that we have to make a gauge RR is clear. We have to ensure that we get this as a result what we want to have, and that we can trust this what we get. In the analyze phase here, we see the Ishikawa. The Ishikawa is a soft skill tool, but this doesn't belong only to the analyze phase. So this you could use also in the improve phase or in the define phase. So it means not every tool belongs to a specific process step. It's flexible, and you could use different tools in different cycle steps. I have here a different view on the tools in combination with the phases. So here we see, for example, that in this view here, in the define phase, we have the Ishikawa. We have just seen one picture before that the Ishikawa was in the analyze phase. So also it's clear not every tool belongs only to one phase, but what we can see here also in this picture is that we have here some soft skill tools like the Ishikawa, but you get maybe also an idea that this is here a lot of statistics, and that you have to know also a lot about this. And this is then later on, we will see this. This is then the hard skills which we need. So to make a histogram or whatever, a control chart, and so. I have as well here a copy out of Wikipedia. They have a complete different point of view. They hadn't clustered the tools according to the steps. They made it in a different way. They made it according to customer, to project tools, management tools, or statistical tools. So here we see, for example, statistical tools, and there is the regression. So you could also cluster this in this way. It's also possible. So, but let's go through the DMAIC cycle now stepwise. We start, of course, with the define phase. The core question of the define phase is, what is the problem? We have to define the project and the target. We have to clarify who is the customer and what exactly is requested. We have to make a rough business case. We have to implement and to find a project, a team, and of course the stakeholders. And we have to make maybe a first process description. This is what belongs to the define phase. The next phase is the measure phase. The core question here is, how big is the problem and how to measure? Because a good database is the heart of the DMAIC cycle. So it means we have to collect data and display them understandable for us and also for the rest of the team. Sometimes we have data, old data, which somebody measured somewhere, but maybe something is missing, and then we have to create also new data. And there we have to take care about also a gauge RR, that we get this what we want to have and that we also can trust this. And of course we have to analyze the process performance. We have to calculate the CP, the CPK, the SPC, and so. This is what belongs to the measure phase. The next is the analyze phase. The core question here is, what exactly is the problem? It's a little bit deeper. Now we had a similar question already at the beginning in the define phase, but here we go a little bit deeper to analyze in detail what exactly is the problem. So for here we have to crunch our numbers, everything what we measured now with statistical tools, and we have to make maybe a regression or an ANOVA or whatever to figure out what exactly is the problem. We need maybe a detailed process mapping. We have to identify the influencing parameters. There, Ishikawa could help us for sure. The cause and effect matrix will help us in combination with the Pareto diagram. And we have to find out what are the important inputs, the X, which influence our output, our Y, which we want to have and which we want to improve. And of course, maybe we identify here already first improvement options. The core question in the improve phase is, how can we solve the problem? Here we have to create and choose possible solutions, and quite often we have more than one solution. We have different options, and the question is, which of the options we have is the best. And this we have then to implement. Also here will help us the PDCA cycle, and afterwards we have then to analyze the target process. Is it really better like we promised, or is it not? This is then the question, and this belongs to the improve phase. So the core question of the last phase, the control phase, is how can we ensure a stable and lasting implementation? I mean, we know this, that we made something, and when we go home, then everything is like it was yesterday. So this, of course, we have to avoid. So what do we have to do? We have to create maybe a new SOP. We have to make a process in project success tracking and confirmation. We have to show the benefit delivery, what we promised. And of course, we have to make a process and project documentation. This is what belongs to the last control phase. After the very short cycle overview, I will give you as well an overview about the organization and qualification. Basically, we have in the Six Sigma organization a white, a yellow, a green, and a black belt, and a master. The yellow and the white belt you get for free. You just make a training and then you are a white or yellow belt. For the green, black, and the master belts, you need of course as well a training, but you have to make then also a test. So, and now we are already at the end of the part number 1, the tutorial number 1. You have now a very brief and short overview. What is Six Sigma and what is the DMAIC cycle? And yeah, maybe you are curious now to see what are the concrete use cases. What could we do now really with this? Yeah, I have prepared more tutorials, part 2, 3, and 4, and yeah, would enjoy me if we see each other in one of the other tutorials. Thanks for listening.